opening ceremony of the 14th Commonwealth Games. On a beautiful Auckland summer's evening, the Games are back in New Zealand after 16 years.
In the next 2.5 hours, we're going to see a show that is rich in pageantry and excitement as thousands of New Zealanders portray a visual history of our country in dance and music and song, from the myths of Maori legend to the voyages of discovery across the Pacific. One country, one people.
Mount Smart Stadium ablaze with colour after its $10 million facelift, the focal point for the Games for the next 10 days, and shortly we'll herald the arrival of the stars of the night shows, the 2,600 sportsmen and women of the Commonwealth.
The opening ceremony of the 14th Commonwealth Games. In the stadium, the Queen's Baton relay comes closer, being carried by Ray Puckett here, 1964 Olympic Games competitor in the marathon, and famous athletes will be helping in the relay run right through to the stadium.
At the moment, the Baton, in fact, is in Ellerslie Racecourse, the beautiful gardens of Ellerslie Racecourse, just 3 or 4 kilometres away from Mount Smart Stadium.
A fanfare now is about to sound, marking the raising of Prince Edward's personal standard as the royal party is about to arrive and the formal Maori welcome will begin. Prince Edward's personal standard has an E on it with the rose. It's a variation of the Queen's own standard. And with us for this part of the ceremony, on behalf of the Tangata Whenua, is Tainui Stevens again, broadcaster and television producer.
The sportsmen and sportswomen of the Commonwealth.
Well, New Zealanders always love a big band and attendance at their sporting occasions, and they're getting 2 tonight. The Royal New Zealand Air Force Band are joining the New Zealand Army Band for a scintillating selection of music to go with the arrival of the teams. Some of it is very appropriate indeed, and the 55 countries will certainly enjoy and recognise some of the tunes that will be played as they pass by the official box here to be received in salute by His Royal Highness Prince Edward. A magnificent occasion, a glorious Auckland evening for the opening of the 14th Commonwealth Games. Yes, indeed, the Games are here. A lovely tradition, isn't it, that the host country from the previous Games gets to march in first at the next Games, and you saw Richard Corsie there, the flag bearer for the Scottish team coming in. He played the dramatic bowls match against Ian Dickerson. 122 competitors from Scotland competing in all sports at these Games.
Well, there's no kilts on the Scottish team this time, but the women's skirts are in a fabric with a tartan pattern, which has been designed especially for these Games, and it's a nice touch. They've called it the Auckland stripe. The outfit's been designed by a prominent Scottish sporting couple, David Stevenson and Alex Jamieson.
There's the Scottish team, strongest medal prospects here on this track. Liz McColgan, Yvonne Murray and Tom McKean, and very strong in bowls again this time. So the first team in, the team of Scotland.
And marching to Cock of the North, that'll get their blood going.
Super New Zealand welcome for our good mates from across the Tasman. And they have given New Zealand a great tribute by sending their biggest ever team, and there's their flag bearer, Lisa Curry-Kenny, the one they call Super Mum of the 1990 games. She was the golden girl in '82 in Brisbane, retired, became a mother, and is back. And here's this controversial national costume, Angela.
She is marching with Lisa, swimming star Janelle Elford, who's wearing a cape which has been specially designed in Australia's national colours of green and gold, and not a lot else.
Look out for Janelle Elford in the pool. She will be a super contestant in those long-distance freestyle events.
Most of the countries have women dressed in that country's national costume marching with the flag bearer, but in Australia's case there is no national costume. Their team uniform is of course in the national colours of green and gold, but they elected instead of a national costume to go with that fashion statement up front from one of Australia's top designers.
And they're here in the crowd too from across the Tasman. The Aussies, they'll be very strong in all sports. Look out for Glenn Houseman in the pool, the 1500-metre man who lost his world record. Robert Di Costello in the marathon. Martin Binnicum at the cycling. Debbie Flintoff-King on the track. Kerry Saxby, the great Australian walker, who's going to try and set a world record for women's walking here. They've got a great team, and they're always very strong at the Commonwealth Games. And I'm sure the Right Honourable Mr. Palmer would agree. Very long team. Not the best Australian marching performance we've ever seen. Oh, that's because marching was a New Zealand sport, wasn't it?
They're saving themselves, Keith.
Bahamas.
6 competitors from the Bahamas. Here's Brad Cooper, their flag bearer, the big discus gold medalist, as the choir here describes the flag of Bahamas. Represented in track and field, swimming and boxing.
And the team is marching to a most appropriate piece of music for the Bahamas. Cara Belafonte's big hit of the 60s, This Is My Island in the Sun.
More from the Commonwealth Games from Mount Smart Stadium in a moment.
Bangladesh.
The march past in full swing here at Mount Smart Stadium. As we look at the men and women of Botswana, meanwhile there's Tiarawa Clark, one of New Zealand's champion netballers in the 70s and 80s, helping to carry the baton to Mount Smart Stadium.
And the British Virgin Islands have now entered the arena.
This is the first time that this country's been represented at the Commonwealth Games. Just one sole representative in the form of Lyndall Hodge, a 30-year-old sales manager from Pasadena, lives in California, the British Virgin Islands, 60 kilometres east of Puerto Rico, and must be one of the most tranquil spots left on the globe. A team of 20 representing the rich land of Brunei Dar es Salaam. And I guess it will come as no surprise to find that this team has forsaken the cramped comfort of the village for the opulence of one of New Zealand's leading hotels, the Regent. But I guess when your ruler is said to be the world's richest man, there's got to be a few material comforts even when you come to the games. In fact, marching with the team is the Sultan's brother, Prince Haji Sufra Belkahi. And there he is in the first row of this 20-strong team. And carrying their flag was Nur Shah Abdullah, one of the boxers in the Brunei team. Crowd of 35,000 enjoying this magnificent spectacle. Now here's the huge Canadian contingent. Hey, aren't they looking smart? Yes, look at this uniform in their red, white and blue baseball jackets, can you believe?
Well, yes, the team has opted for a more casual look for the opening ceremony this time, with all the members in polo shirts and the women in blue culottes.
And carrying their flag, one of their most experienced swimmers, Tom Ponting, who will be one of Anthony Moss's strongest rivals for the gold medal in the 100 and the 200-metre butterfly. And this huge team of 252, but it's had its share of turmoil since it arrived in New Zealand with the bizarre expulsion of Gillian Richardson, their sprinter, and of course the weightlifting fiasco, which saw a non-selected lifter arrive here in Auckland with a court order requiring the Canadian selectors to reconsider, but they did, but all to no avail. But nonetheless, the Canadians are expected to reap a harvest of medals, particularly so in swimming, where I guess, Keith, they'll win at least half a dozen.
Yes, indeed, and maybe more. They're very strong there. The old Maple Leaf is flying high here in Auckland tonight.
And they're marching to the music of Alouetta and to Rosemarie from the Desert Song, in keeping with Canada's biculturalism.
The Canadians, we can expect to win a few medals here on the track too. In fact, Mike Smith, the Commonwealth's leading decathlete, will be a major rival for Simon Pullman in the gold medal in the decathlon.
Holding up events as they stop and take photos of Prince Edward.
And I bet this opening ceremony is being watched very closely by some 1994 organisers back in Canada at the moment. Of course, it's Victoria on Vancouver Island, which will host the next games in 4 years' time.
This is the biggest team at the games, and my word, look how they're spread out. Not exactly marching like they used to in the good old days.
Canadians also believe they will win a lot of medals in gymnastics.
They seem to be enjoying the sight of us as much as we're enjoying the sight of them.
"55 countries will come in.
Cayman Islands.
Flag bearer for the Cayman Islands is Kareem Street Thompson. The Cayman Islands Sportsman of the Year. He's a sprinter. He's considered a great prospect for the future. And he's the fellow, of course, like all these other athletes, if they want to be in the track and field events, people like Kareem here have to train on the beach because there are no athletic tracks at all on the Cayman Islands. It's a group of islands 300 kilometres north of Jamaica.
Oh, a very popular team in New Zealand, the Cook Islands. A big cheer from the audience.
I think we've got more Cook Islanders here, Angela, than there are back home, haven't we?
We certainly have.
Flag bearer.
And back home they're watching television too, live for the first time.
Yes, and we have a special welcome for the live television viewers from the Cook Islands. The flag bearer they saw there is Mike Terarui. He also carried the flag in Edinburgh. Don't they look great? They're competing here in 4 sports.
The team's uniform is made of a green and white floral fabric, green and white being the Cook Islands' national colours. Now the women are in that wonderfully versatile garment, the pariu, that's so perfect for the tropical lifestyle.
This is the 4th games for Cyprus, and here's their flag bearer, Marios Hagirandio, triple jumper. There's the flag for the Cyprus team.
The white flag has the outline of Cyprus with 2 olive branches, and they're said to denote the island's major industry, the olive production.
16 men and 3 women from Cyprus. You notice that to the left, with the teams, you see national costume being worn with each team. Now, World Vision has bought young women, young people from 22 countries, and some of them are marching alongside the flag bearers in national costume as part of a New Zealand-wide tour for World Vision.
England.
Well, for such a big team, the English have one of their smallest competitors to carry their flag. Here's Karen Briggs, 4 times world judo champion. She's earned the honour ahead of such big names and gold medal contenders like Sebastian Coe, David Bryant, Linford Christie, Adrian Morehouse, Peter Elliott. The list goes on. Look how small she is. She weighs just 48 kilograms. That's 7.5 stone, and they're carrying the red rose, every one of them.
And the team is marching behind not the Union Jack, but the Cross of St. George being the patron saint of England.
We may get a look at David Bryant down there in their ranks. Remember, he's the man that won the gold medal way back in the Empire Games in Perth in 1962, and he's won gold medals at 3 other games to make 4 in all. He's trying for gold medals at 5 games here.
The team's uniform has been designed by a top UK fashion retailer Next. And a small but important detail, the men's ties are decorated with the red rose of England, as well as everyone carrying one. And I love the English national dress of the bowler hat and umbrella. You won't need it here, we hope. Accompanying the team is the music of the Lass of Richmond Hill. I'm sure that's a tune that predates the present television series by a long way.
There at the bottom of the picture we saw Linford Christie, who's expected to be one of the big stars here.
Seb Coe
on the track, and Seb Coe. First time he's ever appeared at the Commonwealth Games, and he's been a strong supporter of the 1990 Games, and how delightful it is to see him marching here this evening.
So England has arrived.
Auckland Islands.
And this is the team that's travelled the furthest to get to the Commonwealth Games in Auckland. 2 competitors, 2 officials. They had to fly on a Royal Air Force jet. Peter Briggs and his other competitor, William Goss, they had to fly all the way from Port Stanley to Ascension Island in Mid-Atlantic, on to London, caught a commercial to jet to Perth and Singapore, and then to Auckland. They're here. More in a moment.
We're looking at the sportsmen and women from the island of Guernsey, 15 competitors. And here's the only country from the Commonwealth on the mainland of South America, Guyana. Another one of these Caribbean states, of course, renowned for its cricketers, a small team of 5 competitors. There's their national flag, formed by the choir of 600. Meanwhile, Barry McGee leading the Baton through Cornwall Park towards One Tree Hill, making their way up to the top of that famous Auckland landmark, which virtually overlooks Mount Smart Stadium. Barry McGee, one of the great New Zealand athletes, of course, from the Arthur Lydiard stable in the 60s. And amidst all the festivity, a sad note with the appearance of Hong Kong, because this is the second to last appearance that I'll be making at the Commonwealth Games. As we all know, Hong Kong becomes part of the People's Republic of China in 1997. But they've sent a very large team. I guess they're going to make the most of their dwindling opportunities at the Commonwealth Games. 82 competitors. It's the biggest team I've seen from Hong Kong at the Commonwealth Games in the last 20 years. A country which traditionally always does strong and bowls and is expecting to pick up a few medals again here in 1990 in that sport. The flag bearer, 67-year-old Peter Rull Sr., shooter competing at his 5th Commonwealth Games. It's a real family affair within the Hong Kong team. There are 2 married couples, along with a family comprising a husband, wife, and a son.
India.
Now the most populous country in the Commonwealth, a land of nearly 800 million people, India. Ashok Pandit, a shooter, carrying the flag. A team of 64 competitors. Of course, the Indian cricketers arrived in New Zealand just 3 days ago. They got off to a bright and dashing start, and I'm sure the Indian Commonwealth Games team hoping that they can emulate the feats of their cricketers here on New Zealand soil. We should make mention here of one very special person in the Indian team, a badminton player by the name of Rajiv Bagga, who is deaf and dumb but is here and will compete in the doubles at the badminton competition.
And as you can see, all the men are wearing turbans, but this is a formal attire. It's not a religious head covering, as with Sikhs, for instance.
64 competitors, and all but 7 of them men.
Isle of Man.
Next into the stadium are the Manx sportsmen and women, the 21-strong team from the Isle of Man, and for the first time at the Games, their flag is not being carried by a Kelly, which is a break with tradition. This is Graham Steigert, a swimmer with a remarkable record. This is his 4th successive appearance at the Commonwealth Games. Now, traditionally, a Kelly will always carry the flag for Isle of Man so long as there is a Kelly in the team.
And that flag is a most unusual one. It dates from the 10th century and is of Viking origin. You can see it's got 3 armoured legs, and they're referred to in Latin as quo quinque jacobus starboard, which apparently roughly translates as whichever way you throw me, I always remain standing.
And that flag caused a certain amount of amusement and confusion at the village when the Isle of Man team arrived there. No one quite knew which was the correct way to hang it. Out of the Caribbean comes the Jamaican team, a team that bases its strength on speed.
Yes, she is, Merle Naughty. She carried the flag and soul for them as well, and look out for her on the track. She's a top sprinter, and the Jamaican flag there. Here comes the rest of the team. In fact, they base their team on speed, don't they, Brendan?
It's a remarkable team, because in this Jamaican team, we've got the world's #1 female sprinter, Merle Naughty, as we saw carrying the flag there, the world indoor 200-metre champion, and Ray Stewart, faster and quicker in 1989 than Carl Lewis.
And again, marching to such an appropriate piece of music. This is My Island in the Sun.
So it's good to have the Jamaicans back. They hosted the Games in 1966. Ray Stewart there. They're the only Caribbean nation to have hosted the Games.
And we remember the great sprinting exploits of Don Quarry when the Games were last here in '74. It could well be Ray Stewart's time in '90.
Jersey.
So this is the largest of the Channel Islands, Jersey. David Lemakand is the flag bearer. There's their flag, and Lemakand will compete in lawn bowls. Also a tax haven, also famous for its Jersey cows.
Well, yes, but it's also got another claim to fame. It's certainly increased its tourism in recent years with the highly successful television series Bergerac. They're playing Island in the Sun for this one too. I wonder if that's as appropriate for Jersey.
The team from Jersey.
Kenya.
Well, I think it's very appropriate in view of recent events that Brendan Telfer comes in here.
And carrying the flag for the 60-strong Kenyan team is Simon Kipkemboi, one of the favourites for the gold medal in the 400 metres. In fact, the Kenyans believe they can win at least the 6 gold medals on here in the track. They're also expected to win a considerable number of medals in boxing, and the organisers were very relieved when the Kenyans arrived here a week ago, because I guess without them, the boxing and the track and field programs would suffer greatly.
Kenya has arrived at Mount Smart Stadium.
Lesotho.
You're gonna be great.
Laurie Pace is their flag bearer. She's carrying the flag. Only 3 competitors, so 1 judo player and 2 in shooting, the cousins, the Attard cousins, Silvio and Joe. Now Dick Quacks is carrying the baton, still closer to the stadium here at Mount Smart Stadium. A silver medalist back in the 1500 metres, still live from Mount Eden, looking into the crater from over the top.
Another team back at the Commonwealth Games after missing Edinburgh. Mauritius with the most unusual combination, and as much it's an all-woman team, and I certainly can't recall over the last 20 years seeing a Commonwealth Games team comprising of all women competitors.
Nauru.
The only male here is an official. Making their first appearance at the Commonwealth Games, the Pacific Island nation of Nauru, renowned for its enormous reserves of phosphate, and of course phosphate has made it the wealthiest of all South Pacific Island nations. Just the one competitor, Marcus Stephen, a 20-year-old weightlifter. One competitor and 2 officials, the contingent from Nauru.
Nigeria.
One of the leading countries from Black Africa, Nigeria. It'll be interesting to see just what sort of reception the Nigerians get from this crowd in light of their call earlier this week for England to be expelled because of their rebel cricket tour of South Africa. And for a few anxious moments this week, newspaper headlines screamed that this was a city where there was going to be a possible Games boycott. But thankfully, the Games have gone ahead, and we're delighted to have the Nigerians here, and they got a pretty good reception as well. A 36-strong team, part of their biggest contingent they've sent to the Commonwealth Games. Carrying their flag, Yusuf Ali, their team captain and long jumper. Their best medal hopes lie in boxing and track and field, but sadly many of their best sprinters failed to gain selection for a variety of rather unusual reasons. The Nigerians looking very smart in their national costume. The most densely populated country in Africa with a population of over 100 million. Now here's a country with a population of just 1,600. Competing only for the second time, the 25-member Norfolk Island team, most of whom are descendants from the Bounty mutineers who resettled on Norfolk Island from the Pitcairns. Although Norfolk Island is very close to New Zealand, just 800 kilometres away, I wonder how many people out there know what the capital of Norfolk Island is. Keith Wynn?
You got me worried there, Brendan.
Well, in fact, it's Kingston, and I must confess I didn't know either until our researchers came up with that piece of information. And carrying the flag for the Norfolk Island team is Dan Yager, a bowler.
Northern Ireland.
The team from the troubled province of Northern Ireland. A 36-year-old shooter, David Kelvin, carrying the flag for Northern Ireland, a squadron leader in the Air Force where he works as a jet pilot.
And as they march on to It's a Great Day for the Irish, they're certainly going to be hoping for that, these games. Very stylish uniform for both the men and women of the team. It's been designed by a top European designer, Paul Costello, who's designed clothes for Princess Diana.
Now, Northern Ireland don't usually win too many gold medals at the Commonwealth Games, but they always seem to take the gold medal in the dress stakes. I remember in 1982 at Brisbane, one of the BBC top fashion designers who was sitting not far away from us said they were streets ahead of any other team in the stadium when it came to smartness with their uniforms. And again this year, Angela, they'll be one of the best we've seen so far, I think.
Yes, they certainly are. Well, I guess it pays to go to Europe instead of staying home for your designers.
63 competitors expected to do well in boxing, very popular sport in Northern Ireland. And also bowls. Of course, we remember here in 1988 when they won the gold medal in the fours. Pakistan, now here's a sight we haven't seen for 20 years at the Commonwealth Games. The sportsmen of Pakistan, led by Saeed Hussain Shah, a 28-year-old boxer from Karachi and bronze medalist at Seoul. It's ironic, I guess, that this team should be made up only of men when it's one of the few countries in the world, of course, ruled by a woman, Benazir Bhutto.
Papua New Guinea.
It's the biggest team ever from Papua New Guinea, and they say they're here to build on their international experience. There's their flag bearer, Joe Chan, the shooting team manager. They want to work on their sports competitiveness and disciplines because they want to be hugely successful at the South Pacific Games in 1991 because they're having them in Port Moresby. Let's give a plug here for Lee Commonwealth, who's in the Papua New Guinea team. He's New Zealand born. They're competing in 6 sports, and the main hope is Takale Tuna.
Seychelles.
Marching in a sort of ceremonial tracksuit, the Seychelles, north of Madagascar, Paul Nioz, who was a reserve for the African team in the triple jump at the World Cup track and field. And they're represented here by 3 sports: athletics, boxing and judo, a team of 12 from the Seychelles.
Sierra Leone.
Big cheer for Sierra Leone, and there he is carrying the flag, Felix Sandy. He's a one-man band. They originally picked a team of 21 for the games, but they added up the cost of sending that many to New Zealand, and they just couldn't afford it. So the man carrying the flag, Felix Sandy, accompanied by his liaison officer, is the only one here from Sierra Leone.
Singapore.
Here they are from Singapore. Carrying the flag, David Lim, their Sportsman of the Year last year, a very accomplished breaststroker in swimming, one of the top men from the Asian swimming scene, a team of 9 men, no women in the Singapore team. I suppose we can thank Mr. Russell Marshall, Foreign Affairs Minister, who got Leslie Atta and Joshua Kinisi, the 2 competitors from the Solomon Islands here. Mr. Marshall had talks with the Prime Minister, Solomon Mamaloni, and here they are, the Solomon Islands, arriving in Auckland.
Smart Stadium. This is the team from the east coast of Africa, the competitors of Tanzania. 4 athletes and 5 boxers, and the flag being carried by Joseph Mawa, their boxer, but their best medal prospects are clearly in the marathon.
Tonga.
Now listen to the cheer going up for the 7-strong Tongan team. Their flag bearer, Suloli Ikabuka, who will be competing in the discus and the shot put.
And she's from Wellington, Sue Ikabuka, as we watch Ian Ferguson, the Olympic gold medalist from canoeing from 2 Olympic Games, bringing the Baton closer to Mount Smart Stadium.
From just off the northern tip of the South American continent comes the team from Trinidad and Tobago. A team of 9 competitors in New Zealand, and the team being managed by the great Hazley Crawford. But this is Maxwell Cheeseman, 28-year-old cyclist who was 8th at Seoul in the 1,000-metre sprint, so he's clearly in with a great chance for a gold medal. And of course many of us here in New Zealand will remember the great Hazley Crawford. Won a gold medal at Montreal in 1976, came to New Zealand a few months later to run in the inaugural track series. Wonder if we can pick him up there somewhere.
Uganda.
The Ugandans, who've had a terrible time getting to New Zealand, was a 5-day struggle to get here. They had to sleep in a terminal in Bombay. Then they had 3 days in Singapore sleeping in the airport because they didn't have visas to go into the main part of the country. One of their boxers was left behind in a hospital in Singapore because he contracted malaria. And they flew into New Zealand last night, absolutely worn out and exhausted. But here they are looking pretty fresh as they march in the opening ceremony. Edward Batoga carrying the flag for the Ugandan team.
Vanuatu.
This is the 3rd Games for Vanuatu. Carrying the flag is Baptiste Furian. A Southwest Pacific nation, a population 140,000.
And they're wearing traditional island designs on their shirts, and that gold, which is featured as prominently, represents the traditional Vanuatu sunset ceremonies.
Well, the Welsh will be hoping their team, with flag bearer David Morgan, the weightlifter, the double gold medalist, well, I guess they'll be hoping their team will do better than the Welsh rugby team did here in 1988.
Men of Harlech bring them on, Keith. That'll bring a lump to your throat.
That's right, Men of Harlech. Yeah, they've heard that played a few times over there as well. Now, the Welsh team had financial problems as well. Sponsorship was affected when the World 15 rugby team headed out to South Africa with so many Welshmen, so they decided to cut the numbers down. Sponsors pulled out, but the public got behind, donated the money, and all the Welsh team are here, 120 athletes and officials. What a fine-looking team they are too, the Welsh team. Colin Jackson will be in the ranks there, the leading 110-metre hurdlist. They've competed in all the games.
And the red and white look so smart and crisp and very striking. You can see them all the way around the stadium.
There's Colin Jackson over the back with the shades.
Western Samoa.
Well, this team will be feeling particularly at home in Auckland, which is, of course, after all, the city that has the world's largest Polynesian population. There's the flag bearer, Fulu Falenu, a 27-year-old light heavyweight boxer, gold medalist, and what a fine example of Western Samoan manhood he is as the officials follow with the team.
The team wearing leis, and they've got European-style blazers, but both men and women are wearing grey lava-lavas.
So they're a popular team from Western Samoa. Zambia, and carrying the flag is Mugamba Kaiti, a 25-year-old badminton player. The Zambian flag, but they've got a fellow in this team, Jim Smith, 35-year-old swimmer, who trains in a river infested by crocodiles. I guess his times will
that'd make you go.
his times will come down. Prince Edward looking now, the 25 team members strong and boxing involved. Zimbabwe, flag bearer Melford Homala, the 800-metre runner. And I can tell you from the mouth of a Harare cab driver when I was in Zimbabwe last month, where I was stranded for a few days, that Zimbabwe, that lovely sounding name, in fact means house of stone. So Zimbabwe goes in, leaving just one more team to come in to Mount Smart Stadium, Auckland's Commonwealth Games 1990.
New Zealand.
Here come the Kiwis. This is our team. Anthony Moss, he's all shaved down, ready to go for that butterfly race, the first of which is just 48 hours away. Doesn't he look fit and sharp? The banners and flags are waving in the stands. Here they come. We're going to try something new. We're going to try and see if we can talk to some of the athletes in the big parade. Anne Ordain, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Brendan.
And it's certainly a great sight. Keith Quinn speaking. What's it like down there? This is your home track.
Oh, this is just so wonderful. This is a realisation of dreams come true.
We can see you, Anne. You look pretty good. What's that on your head?
Oh, well, I don't know, but this is just so wonderful. And I think this is what all those years of training in the dark and the cold and the rain and the snow, this is what it's all about. To see all you people up there egging us on. It's just wonderful.
There's Bev Peterson, just not far from you. Her mother competed in Auckland. Oh, no, I think a tear in the eye of the Governor-General. Anne Ordain, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
You want to know what was on her head, do you, Keith? That's a very distinctive part of the uniform. It's sort of like a beret-like hat. But we didn't have to go to Europe to buy our design. Ours was designed right here at home by a former Benson and Hedges Award winner, Robert Gormick. It's 100% wool for comfort and to stay looking good, because wool doesn't crease, you know.
Well, there are 224 competitors in the New Zealand team, 2,500 competitors here at the Games, but I'm sure one of the proudest men tonight is this man, John Walker. John, Brendan Telfer here. Can you hear me?
This is unbelievable down here. The noise, you just can't even hear yourself talk.
How are you feeling at the moment?
I'm feeling totally overwhelmed. I think that I've never seen a stadium with 35,000 people in it. They're all cheering for New Zealand.
Well, John, I guess there's been a lot of people telling you in the last couple of years it's time to retire, but I guess just at the moment, I'm pretty sure you're glad you didn't listen to them.
I wouldn't have missed this moment for the world. And I'm sure this is going to inspire all the New Zealand competitors. And if this is worth 1 second or 1 second in the pool or a gold medal to anybody, this crowd will certainly lift the New Zealand team.
Tell me, John, how does it compare if you can recall what it was like 16 years ago in Christchurch? Any different?
I think this is better because this is spontaneous. There's no boycotts. This has all come together. 4 years of planning, and I think everybody has to be congratulated. It's magnificent.
I don't think I've seen you looking as smart as that for a while either.
Cheers.
The Kiwis are here. What a great reception they got from the big crowd. They look great, don't they, Angela?
And they are looking smart. Both the men and the women are in black double-breasted blazers, the men in cream pleated trousers. They should be baggy, you see, and comfortable. And the women are in mid-calf length cream flocks, also with box pleats to make them comfortable and roomy.
Well, these are the young men and women who'll become, we hope, familiar faces to you over the next 11 days of competition.
And it's a very experienced team that New Zealand has sent to the Commonwealth Games. In fact, 57 of them have competed at earlier games. And within this team, there are no less than 21 existing Commonwealth Games medalists. So we could be seeing one of the best medal hauls ever from a New Zealand team at the Commonwealth Games.
The Kiwis have arrived. All the teams from all the countries are here. Let's respect all of New Zealand as the Queen's Baton relay gets closer still to the stadium. And Tracy Edwards, the skipper of Maiden in the Whitbread Round the World Yacht Race. And what a great tribute to women sportsmen that is to have her competing.
And here at the stadium, a great roar growing up from the crowd and a Mexican wave working its way around, which I might add was started by the competitors. But we are now getting ready for the ceremonial part of the proceedings, and Tainu Stevens is back with me.
Kia ora, Angela. Tēnā nō rākou te katoa, mā takitaki mai nā. And we have this Mexican wave going around. I wonder if Mexico's in the Commonwealth. I don't think it is.
Again, the sound of the conch shell.
The conch shell signalling the beginning once again and the return to Copa,
which is so important to New Zealand and which carried the various migrations from Polynesia and from Europe to populate our nations. Moving ahead of the sea are dancers in white who are the line of surf, and ahead of them dancers in spangles who are moving forward and rushing back. It's the sea coming onto the beach. And Wayne Laird's music is so evocative. It's the sound of the sea, and it's the sound of creation. Across these, around the sides of the sea, as it moves forward across the arena, are white balloons, and they represent the clouds of Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. In all, there are 6,000 performers down there in this dance pageant, mostly amateur and all volunteers. The wavelets rolling up on the beach, rushing back. It's been choreographed by Mary Jane O'Reilly, whose work with the Limbs Dance Company brought it to such national prominence. Again, the music. The ocean is complete, and we can see from one corner waves starting. The waves move across the ocean. Beautifully synchronized display.
Wave, endless oceans of time surround our journey, started here, with this our sharing. A single, sturdy, sea-built canoe, strong enough to resist hot winds and false calm silences. Heralds of storm, sudden, too swift to seek sheltering shores, where our birthplace lies now, far, far away astern. Ahead, uncharted tides, our canoe swiftly sails across Pacific seas.
ahead of the canoe being reflected back. We see one wave coming back, then we see another wave coming back. They were certain signs to the Polynesian navigators that there was something ahead.
Unsure, uncertain how we survive adrift on oceans vast, unseeing in our blessed surround the gift of silvered shoals, the bounty of the sea. Unconcealed for those who sailed and cast in shrouded times, the lines we use to safely steer our course.
The fish and the birds, another certain sign for the explorers, and they have found an island. Again, the spangle dances, the surf on the atoll.
Schooled by our hardship, others may at last straight sail towards treasures set under night's once constant stars, now swift in progress across heavens, suggesting we stand still while all else flies in air and birds and clouds, the centuries of restless lands.
The volcano in the island has erupted into the sign of the sun being the symbol of Hawaii, the place of origin in the east. Now we can see those clouds forming. They're forming Aotearoa.
Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. Where did it all begin? Through the eyes of the Maori, with Rangi, Sky Father, and Papa, Earth Mother, as one, locked in embrace. And huddled in the darkness between them, their godly children yearning for the light. Tane, the eldest, plotted with his brothers. Tawhiri stood against them, but the rushing winds only fueled the desire of the brothers to drive their father away, up into the heavens. Between him and his wife, there was nothing left but time and space.
So we pay tribute to the land of the long white.
Well populated.
And the Baton gets closer. Running with it now is Maury Ray, who ran so brilliantly for New Zealand in the 100-metre sprints at the Olympic Games of 1956. Live now from Cornwall Park with Maury Ray, one of our great sprinters of the 50s, carrying the Baton closer to this stadium.
And getting closer to Aotearoa, a European ship, a Dutch ship.
Today the Heemskerken Zeeën sighted a high-flying land. Later, we were visited by two prows full of men who called out in a rough, hollow voice and blew on an instrument which sounded like a Moorish trumpet. They paddled their canoes at considerable speed. A cockboat was sent out, but one of the canoes rammed it. In this encounter, 4 of my men were killed.
Abel Tasman had sighted land. Movement on the Pacific is hotting up. A British ship arrives, and the captain writes in his log.
Saturday, 7th of October, 1769. At 2 p.m. saw land from masthead bearing west by north. Could but just see it from the deck at sunset. Midnight, brought to and sounded. No ground at 170 fathom. At daylight, made sail for the land. Tupia says the folk of this land are called Maori, although they are of many different tribes. They are fierce warriors. There is never peace between them.
Hard on the heels of Cook came an increasing wave of settlers and traders and missionaries and sealers and whalers.
Close in the wake of the first European navigators, a stream of seafarers came. Sealers from Sydney town in search of their sad but profitable slaughter. Whalers searching for the cachalot or sperm whale. Shipwrights to collect tall and true Cody timber for the building of new ships. Traders and merchants bringing muskets, iron and blankets to exchange for potatoes, maize, and dressed flax to make rope. Souls, too, were to be harvested in this land of the Southern Cross. And soon almost every ship crossing the Tasman Sea brought land-hungry passengers. The stream became a river, the river of blood. On a hot February day in 1840, at Waitangi, the treaty which founded modern New Zealand was signed.
E ngā iwi o te ao, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. To the people of the world, I greet you to Aotearoa, to New Zealand. This great gathering of people here today reminds me of another great gathering the day my ancestors joined together with the Queen of England representative to sign the Treaty of Waitangi. Let us all remember that this treaty was signed so that we can live together as one nation in Aotearoa. The challenge for our nation is the same as the challenge before the athletes of the Commonwealth to strive for success. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
And what a marvellous production that was, here at the opening ceremony of Auckland's Commonwealth Games.
Cultural groups are now performing.
And Dick Taylor is carrying the Queen's message as it continues to come closer to that point where it's brought in by the still unnamed mystery star sportsman who will bring it in to Mount Smart Stadium.
All the various ethnic groups that make up New Zealand. We've got Scottish dancers and Morris dancers. Of course, the Morris dancers have made quite a feature of their performances here in New Zealand because on May Day they go up to Mount Eden every year and see in the May dance, and I believe that makes them about 12 years ahead of their English counterparts.
12 hours, I think you mean.
12 hours.
Maybe 12 years.
But carrying on around the arena, there's the Irish, there's the Welsh. And with a slight change of music, more exotic communities from New Zealand. In the arena now, the Chinese community, the Indian community, the Yugoslavs are here, the Austrians. The Italians are joining in. The Polish, the Dutch. Even though we have a very tiny Jewish community here in New Zealand, they're represented here as well. Wonderfully colourful spectacle. And it is the different cultures that give a country colour, and we didn't know we had that many, did we, Keith?
Yes, I guess the people of Dannevirke will be delighted that this little part of the story of New Zealand, Danish community. I must say the shots looking towards the sunset, I hope we see some more, they're absolutely marvelous. They couldn't have picked a better night. Maybe the good people of Island Bay and Wellington will be enjoying this one too. A lot of Italians in that suburb.
And from the Chinese community, the Lucky Dragon. To get the weather right, you must have been dancing over the last couple of days, Keith.
It's a beautiful, still night in Auckland. It's lovely and warm, marvellous.
But now lining up around the arena are pennants and flags for every one of the cultural communities that are dancing here today. The Cambodian community here cannot be a large one, but we have them represented here tonight as well. Wonderful that such varied dancers, from the Tamil to the Cambodian to the Scots, are all managing to dance to the same music.
Yes, it is incredible. I'm not quite sure how they do it, although I do see a few sort of what we call ghetto blasters in 1990 out there, so they're all dancing to their own little scene out there. And in the background, the tall building you see just over the back of the stand is the Games headquarters, lit up especially tonight with the Games symbol on top.
And the dancers from the Israeli community. Well, they might all be dancing to different drummers, but they're very well coordinated. But there's a sound that's going to introduce even more members of our cultural community, the Pacific Islanders. And what better group to bring them into the studio than the thrilling dancers of the Cook Islands. What a sound. Get anyone's blood pounding, Keith. Following the dancers from the Cook Islands are all the other Pacific Island communities in Auckland.
This telecast going live to Niue. I'm sure they'll enjoy seeing their fellow countrymen here. And here comes the happy faces of the Fijian people.
And the Samoan team rushing into the stadium. From Tuvalu. from Tonga. The Nueans. Be a big cheer going up at home. Sound is tremendous. If this doesn't fire up the athletes, heap nothing will.
Yes, indeed, it's echoing right around the stadium. We hope you're enjoying this thrilling depiction of the Polynesians arriving in New Zealand.
A spectacular display, Keith, in all your years of opening ceremonies.
Well, yeah, I love it. I think it's fantastic. You know,
Now to lead the people of modern New Zealand in song, please welcome Mr. Howard Morrison.
Now here comes a great act from a great New Zealand entertainer.
Let me be born on the full wind. Let my heart know the way to never forget the voice of my land. Oh, one moment of yesterday.
Well, no one gets them going in this country quite like Howard Morrison can, as he gets a tumultuous reception from 35,000 fans here in the stadium. More coming up soon from the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games. What a wonderful moment for horse and rider, and for the sport of equestrian. Double gold medalist at 1984's Games in Los Angeles and the 1988 Olympic Games in Seoul.
And what a roar from the crowd, Pete. Is it for charisma or for Mark?
Yes, indeed. But what a great team they make.
Oh, and charisma's beautifully dressed.
This is a 16-year-old horse, and it is in the peak of condition here. This is the horse they called down on the farm podge. Very interesting selection, Brendan, because equestrian has never featured at the Commonwealth or Empire Games.
Yes, I imagine that will probably raise a few eyebrows, the fact that, of course, Mark Todd has had no association with the Commonwealth Games, but it really was an inspired and brilliant move. But I wonder whether the surprises are really over yet.
Competitors, Mark Todd looking in to see some old friends among the athletes who went to the Olympic Games with him.
What a remarkable journey this Baton has made since it left Buckingham Palace back in October of last year. We estimate it's travelled about 30,000 kilometres via Canada and Australia to New Zealand, and 11,000 kilometres around New Zealand. Of course, it's travelled by jet plane, and today it's travelled by Waka across the Waitemata Harbour, and now by horse. It must be the most diverse journey that a Queen's Baton's made in the 60-year history of the Commonwealth Games.
Well, I think you can gauge that it's a very popular choice. Mark Todd and charisma. Now, this is interesting, Brendan. He has trotted past the official dais. Now, I have a feeling there is still one more, shall we say, runner to come. Let's have a look. He's trotted right past the grandstand, right past the dais. There it is in the background. Mark Tudd, oh, he's going to do a second lap, is he? This is a bit confusing for us. I think maybe Charisma is enjoying it too much in front of this crowd. Well, Charisma's just been on a promotional tour of New Zealand.
I wonder if Prince Edward was surprised that he didn't hand it over when he went past the first time.
Right around so everyone can get a look at this great New Zealand sporting team. And look at the reaction from the fans in the stand for this great New Zealand sporting team. This, of course, is one of the hardest Olympic events to win, let alone win it twice. It was something like over 50 years, 56 years since it had been done before. Now, look at this.
The baton is now being transferred to an athlete famous for many gold medals won in Commonwealth and Olympic Games, New Zealand's own Peter Snell.
Well, they don't forget in Auckland, that was a roar good enough for Peter Snell. The same as he heard in his great running career in the 1960s. And my word, the years might have passed, but he looks in pretty good shape. 52-year-old Peter Snell, and that also is an inspired choice. I think we'd have to say unanimously probably the greatest sportsman New Zealand has produced in the 20th century, and how fitting and how appropriate that he should carry the baton for its final few metres on a track I suspect he's never run on in his life before. Well, he set a world record over at Western Springs Stadium. And look at Dr. Peter Snell, resident of Dallas, USA, back in his hometown and getting a hometown welcome. 3 times Olympic gold medalist and twice an Empire Games gold medalist at Perth, 1962. Brendan, he's done a lap of the track, half a lap, he's hardly puffing.
Great moment for Peter Snell, and also I suspect a marvellous moment for Arthur Lydiard, who's been very much involved in the activities here today, helping carry the baton himself and marching with the New Zealand team into the stadium this evening.
So Mr. Peter Hitley unscrews the 2 parts of the baton. One went on the journey around the North Island, one went around the south, carried by some 12,000 people, men and women, young kids of all ages. And there is the message from Her Majesty.
Your Royal Highness, I invite you to read the message from Her Majesty the Queen and to open the 14th Commonwealth Games.
Team from New Zealand, one of the all-time greats.
The Commonwealth Games Federation flag is now being piped into the stadium and carried by the New Zealand rowing 8, who won a gold medal at the 1972 Munich Olympics.
Here's Tony Hurt. It was the marvellous stroke of that crew. Weibo Velman. This is a who's who of New Zealand sportsmen here tonight. Dick Joyce, of course, was a double Olympic gold medalist as well, winning in 1968 in the 4s. And there's Big John Hunter, the man that did all the work in the middle. Big Lindsay Wilson from the Waikato. That was a great crew, this one. Ethel Earl, another huge, big man. Gary Robertson. And the little guy who was the coxswain, also a double gold medalist, Simon Dickey. And if you're wondering about the 9th member, remember 8 members of the rowing 8 plus a coxswain makes 9, but there are only 8 today The crew sadly lost Trevor Coker, who died at a tragically young age a few years ago. So only 8 of that crew of 9 remain. But what a marvellous tribute to them and the sport of rowing, which of course played a part in the 1950 Empire Games in New Zealand, the events being held down at Lake Karapiro. And I think I remember that the rowing events at the 1950 Games were held in front of the biggest sporting crowd ever in New Zealand. Over 60,000 people crammed the shores of Lake Karapiro for the rowing finals.
Again, though, not a Commonwealth Games team bringing this into the stadium. Again, it's an Olympic team.
Yes, I think it's been a delightful combination of the Commonwealth Games and the Olympic ideals here tonight. We've seen Peter Snell, Charisma, Mark Todd and the rowing aid. It's not just a night of celebrating the Commonwealth Games, but a chance to celebrate many great moments from New Zealand's sporting past.
And a 14-gun salute, symbolising the 14th Commonwealth Games, is sounded as the flag rises.
The flag rises. The rowing aids of 1972 did a marvellous job. This one is not such a big surprise. Really nice mix.
The competitors will now stand
for the
as
taking
Barbara
of the
Moore
oath.
and Graham Robson, representing the New Zealand team, will pronounce the Commonwealth Games oath on behalf of all competitors.
We declare that we will take part in the Commonwealth Games of 1990 in the spirit of true sportsmanship, recognizing the rules which govern them, and desirous of participating in them for the honor of our Commonwealth and for the glory of sport.
Well said. A good choice there. Man and a woman, Murray and Pakeha, taking the oath on behalf of the athletes of all the Commonwealth.
Entering the stadium now are 2 young children from Camp Quality who represent the thousands of New Zealanders who have accompanied the Commonwealth Games Baton as it was carried the length and breadth of the country on its journey to the stadium this evening. The batons they carry aloft represent the pride and spirit of New Zealand.
Yes, if you saw the many photographs and television newsreels of the relay around New Zealand, you would have seen that there were always 3 in the picture. There was the Queen's baton split in 2, one to the north, one to the south, and the baton's pride and spirit which accompanied the Queen's message.
Let the pride and spirit of New Zealand light up the games.
So all of the 11 or 12,000 people who took part in that marvellous baton run can feel proud. They were represented right there. Now we look at the games venues and a look around the city of Auckland, the city of sails.
The brand new RTR Centre, which will host the weightlifting right in the heart of Auckland City. At Pakuranga, the home for the Bull and Bowls competition for the next 10 days. The Logan Campbell Centre, next to the Epsom Racecourse, venue for the boxing. And just a couple of kilometres away, not far from the Southern Motorway, Badminton Hall, And out into the hills of southern Auckland we go to Mangatawhiri for one of the two shooting ranges. The brand new $2 million velodrome at Monaco. One of the few new facilities built for the Commonwealth Games in 1990. The town hall, which will also host the judo. Mount Smart with its $10 million facelift, and with seating capacity now for 35,000 people. And out towards the hills of West Auckland, the $16 million pride, I guess, of the construction program for the Commonwealth Games, the Henderson Aquatic Centre.
In the arena, so appropriate for the city of sails, we're now starting to see a sailing demonstration. We've got land yachts doing formation sailing here inside a stadium.
The voice of Taisha coming around the stadium with the song Breakout as we see a depiction of many of the aspects of the City of Sails. But we've got Dr. Peter Snell with Peter Williams.
Spectators were in position by 10:30 this morning, but come so far they didn't want to be late.
All the way from West Oz.
You've come a long way.
Really looking forward to this. We've planned this for 4 years.
Really?
Yes, yes.
We are completely organised. You've got to have sunblock. I ain't coming from Australia. You
What else?
cook. We've got food. We've got, well, you know, like the tickets. Like, we're just completely organised.
The stars of the show, the athletes, are also up early getting a taste of conditions and atmosphere at the Mount Smart warm-up track. And today is certainly a big day for venue director Trevor Jackson.
And I'm very pleased with the team that's worked with me. I think it's terrific. You know? I'm very pleased.
Are you going to sit back and enjoy the games now, or what?
Well, now I've got to get ready to do a program about reinstatement of the facilities.
Which means what?
Well, we leave some of the seats behind, about 7,020, and of course the rest we've got to take out and send back to Australia and remove the lighting towers and get down the scaffolds and things like that. So that in itself is quite a task.
The television coverage is the largest yet, with 25 cameras covering the track and field, and commentary teams from around the world covering today's competition.
So the stage is set, but if you are coming to Mount Smart this afternoon, I'd advise to bring some sunblock and a decent hat, because it's very, very hot in the stadium. Unless, of course, you're like me and have a wonderful sunshade to sit under.
Mark Leishman in the